Is pre-trip for me. First thing we're going to do is check the overall condition of the truck. Make sure it's not leaning to the left or to the right, which could indicate a suspension problem or a tire problem. Next we're going to check our clearance lights. Then we're going to check our marker lights, our left turn signal, our right turn signal, four-way flashers, headlights, high-low beams. Make sure they're all safely, securely mounted, not damaged, not missing any hardware, and they are clean, not cracked, in proper color, amber to the front and red to the rear. Next we are going to check underneath the truck for any fresh puddles which could indicate a leak. Next we're going to open the truck. Next thing we're going to check is our oil dipstick, making sure it's safely, securely mounted. We're going to pull the dipstick, wipe it clean, reinsert it, pull it back out, making sure it's at proper operating level, which is above low, below full. Then we're going to check our coolant reservoir, making sure it's safely, securely mounted, not damaged, not leaking, and it's also at proper operating level, which is above low and below full. Then we're going to check our power steering reservoir hoses and fittings, making sure they're all safely, securely mounted, not damaged, not leaking. Then we're going to follow our power steering hoses back to our power steering pump, making sure it's safely, securely mounted, not damaged, not leaking, and the pump is gear driven. And our air compressor is also back there, so we're going to make sure our air compressor is safely, securely mounted, it's not damaged, not leaking, and it's also gear driven. Next we're going to check our steering components, our steering shaft, our gearbox, pitman arm, drop link, steering knuckle, kingpin. We have our tie rod and our tie rod ends, all our castle nuts, and all the cotter pins, making sure they're all safely, securely mounted, not damaged, not missing any hardware. Next we're going to check our leaf spring mounts, making sure it's safely, securely mounted, not damaged, not missing any hardware. Our leaf springs, safely, securely mounted, not damaged, none are missing, and there are no misaligned leaf springs. Check our shock mounts and our shock, making sure it's safely, securely mounted, not damaged, not leaking, and the shock mounts aren't missing any hardware. Then we're going to check our U-bolts, making sure they're safely, securely mounted, not damaged, not missing any hardware. Okay, then we're going to check our air brake chamber hoses and fittings, making sure it's safely, securely mounted, not damaged, not leaking. Check our brake chamber, safely, securely mounted, not damaged, not leaking. Then we're going to check our push rod slack adjuster, making sure it's safely, securely mounted, not damaged, not missing any hardware. And how we would check for proper adjustment is chock the wheels, release the brakes, pull on our adjuster, and there shouldn't be more than 1 inch of play. Okay, next we're going to check our brake lining, making sure our brake lining is safely, securely mounted, it's not damaged, not missing any hardware, it's not worn less than 1/4 of an inch or worn dangerously thin. Next we're going to check our brake drum, making sure our brake drum is safely, securely mounted, it's not damaged, not missing any hardware, and there is no foreign substance such as grease, dirt, or oil. Okay, then we're going to check our inner and our outer rim, making sure it's safely, securely mounted, not damaged, there are no cracks and no illegal welds. Then we're going to check the overall condition of the tire, make sure it's safely, securely mounted, it's not damaged, not leaking. Check our inner and outer sidewalls for any cuts, cracks, or bubbles. Check for even tread wear, proper tread depth, which is 4/30 seconds, minimum 4/30 seconds on the steer, and minimum 2/30 seconds on the drive. Okay, next we're going to check our lug nuts, making sure our lug nuts are safely, securely mounted, not damaged, not missing any hardware. None are loose or missing. Indication of a loose lug nut is rust trails or shiny threads. Then we're going to check our hubcap, making sure our hubcap safely, securely mounted, not damaged, not leaking, and at proper operating level, which is above low and below full. Then we're going to check our valve stem, making sure our valve stem is safely, securely mounted, it's not damaged, not leaking. How we check tire pressure is by using a tire pressure gauge, and there always shows what your tire pressure should be at. Okay, then we're gonna go to the other side of the truck. check a couple items. First thing we're going to check is our coolant reservoir, making sure it's safely, securely mounted, it's not damaged, not leaking, and it's at proper operating level, which is above low and below full. Okay, next we're going to check our alternator, making sure our alternator is safely, securely mounted, not damaged, not missing any hardware, and it's belt driven by the Serpentine Belt. So we're going to check our Serpentine Belt, making sure it's safely, securely mounted, not damaged, no cuts, cracks, no frays, and no more than 3/4 inch of deflection. Remember, deflection is pushing, play is pulling. Next, you're going to check your wires and connectors on your alternator. Make sure it's safely, securely mounted, it's not damaged, no cuts, cracks, no frays. Then we're going to check our water pump, making sure our water pump is safely, securely mounted, not damaged, not leaking, and the water pump is also gear driven. I'm sorry, it's belt driven. So we're gonna go ahead and check our Serpentine Belt again, making sure it's safely, securely mounted, it's not damaged, there are no cuts, cracks, or frays, and there is no more than 3/4 inch of deflection. And that concludes our pre-trip inspection.